yeah, I'm gonna torture you, but first let's have sex. I'm like, what? Excuse me? I need a monster that scares me. Like, I need a monster that is really mean. The hell? Are we trying to figure out how to get out of this place? They were all more interested in sleeping with you than doing anything else. It's like, tell me one of your fantasies, things that you wanted to do and you've never done it. And I was like, oh no. I am sorry, but this girl was just horny the entire time. I'm dying to tell somebody about this scene. Oh, if I'm not there to save you, you're probably gonna die. Take this deal, take this. And I'm like, I don't know about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with my book of the month pick for the month of September, and this is Phantasma by Kaylie Smith. It has great reviews. Most people absolutely love it. It starts with a couple of sisters, is Ophelia and Genevieve. They live in this manor, it's called Grim Manor, and they live in a world where there are paranormal beings, and they just lost their mom. Ophelia and Genevieve's mom is a necromancer, so when she dies, she passes her powers into her daughter Ophelia. They mourn their mom, and eventually they get the visit from a bank that says, your mom owes money, we're gonna keep the house. And the younger sister Genevieve, she's like, keep it, we're leaving, we just don't want to be here anymore. But older sister, even though she doesn't want to be a necromancer, she has that struggle in her where she doesn't want to not do it in honor of her family. This is a manor that's been in this family for a really long time. They have this fight. One of the sisters, the youngest, Genevieve, disappears, and her sister decides to go through her stuff, and she finds a flyer or something, I don't remember, that explains about Phantasma, which is a competition, a deadly competition that just showed up in town. And so Ophelia is thinking, oh, my sister, that's where she went. Ophelia decides to go to Phantasma and try to find her sister, and that's how she ends up getting into this competition, because she just can't go barging in and say, where's my little sister? No, she actually needs to compete. Yesterday I read the first trial, and I read when she got there, as she was setting herself up in her room, something shows up, she follows it, and I can start to see that every door in that place where they are at this competition, it's going to be like, okay, this is the closet door, but actually it takes you to a completely different place. And I'm liking that. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy it or care about what's behind that door, but I did. I don't know why I did, and I am enjoying it. However, the first trial took place, and it was even better. I was engaged on what was happening. The writing was so good that, again, it's like you're watching a movie, and at the same time everything kind of makes sense. It clicks with each thing, and I really ate that up. There is a scene where she meets this love interest, and he, to me personally, it's kind of cringy. I mean, the physical descriptions, yes, maybe that's, I don't know. He's also, this is a paranormal world, so you can put two and two together, but it's like, I don't know. This far, all I'm gonna say is they're trying to make Ophelia look like a weak woman, even though she is portraying herself as a very strong and powerful necromancer. However, you know, the relationship with this guy is like, oh, if I'm not there to save you, you're probably gonna die. Take this deal, take this. And I'm like, I don't know about that. So to me, that's kind of cringy. Like, she is so strong, so independent, so powerful, and yet she needs the help from this random guy when she's doing just fine by herself. There's more to the story, I'm sure, but this far, that's what I've gathered in the first, I think it's the first 20% of this book, which is 133 pages. Every time I take a break from my book, this is what I'm looking at. Isn't it beautiful? Hi, Briere. Hi, girl. Hi, Rose. Are you talking to your mama? You're such a good girl. Another trial, another day. They're gonna talk to me because they think I'm gonna talk back to them. Come here, Shiloh. Come here. Come here. This is my barn cat. Carrot. Aren't you a carrot? Yeah, he's interested in anything but being pet right now. I think he's hunting or something. Let me update you. I made it to page 190 on Phantasma, and I'm happy to report that it's keeping me interested. And even though this month already started and I'll go into it, I think it's still interesting enough in my brain that I want to keep reading to figure out really who this one person is that the name keeps coming up, if the sister is there. Like, the mystery part of this book is what's really keeping me interested, I guess. But this is a new day and a new trial, and the trial itself, that's where the smut started, because it wasn't between Ophelia and her love interest, but it was between random beings that were in, I don't know if they were displayed or how it was, but as this trial was happening, all these things were around them. They were doing all these sexual things to each other, pretty graphic, but not necessarily between Ophelia and her love interest. So up until this point, they're still acting like they don't like each other, and you know, out loud, but then on the inside you can hear her thoughts, and she kind of likes him. She just doesn't want to admit that that's what is happening. Now, there's a lot of deception since the trials started. The deception has a lot to do with these beings sounding or looking like somebody you know, to kind of entice you to get out from where you are safe and go to these other random passages where they're gonna try to keep you, which I thought it was a pretty smart thing. And for a minute I just got confused and I thought, okay, well, maybe this is where the book ends, because, you know, she might have found this other person, and, you know. But no, really, it's all part of the competition, and I think it's so well written and thought out that even this trial that they went through, it was like I was going through the rules and what she needed to do as Ophelia was. Like, I had no idea what this, and, you know, what this meant, what she had to do. You kind of have this riddle that a demon reads to you, and then you have to memorize it or remember it in order to know how to get out of this trial, like how to exit this horrible thing that it's gonna happen to you. So I thought that this trial was really smart. I did not see it coming until the last bit, when somebody said something that I'm like, that doesn't sound like that. And so I'm trying to keep it vague for you, but yeah, eventually I realized, you know, what was happening. But it took me to go through the entire trial until almost the end to find out, oh, so this is what it is. Another thing that I really did like is the riddle part, because once she goes into the trial and she is in that place, because it is described so vividly in the book that sometimes you can kind of, oh, that's what it means, that lays, you know, the solution lays on this. And I don't know, it just triggered a part of my brain that I thought it was fun and intriguing, and at the same time you can kind of try to guess, even though you're not able to help her go and do whatever you think is going to be the solution to get out of this place. Those are my ducks. Ducks! They're all the way on the other side of the property. Most of the ducks go in the water, and there's 2 that are on the lookout. The other ones are down there. Good girlies. Here they come up. Oh, maybe not. Wanna get muddy. It's the next day. I'm on page 329, which after my last update, we got to a point where she's looking for two people in this competition, and she is asking about one of them, and she learns a whole lot more about her family, connection to supernatural things, and it also, we learn a lot more about how this competition was started, who is behind it, and a lot of things that I thought were really, really interesting. Around page 298 got to the point where the smut got real, you know, and I'm okay. I mean, we're 300 pages into this book. If the last 200 pages do have smut, and I don't care to learn about the details of what he's doing and what she's doing, I can totally skip ahead a few pages and I'll be okay. So I, you know, after reading all the negative reviews about this book and how people made it seem like, oh my gosh, she's basically calling this guy to spend time with her every 5 seconds, and up until this point that hasn't been the case. I mean, but she is like she's that kind of girl that is like, oh, come and we'll have fun, and I need this and I need that, and then it's like, okay, leave, and we're never going to do this again. And it happens more than once, which so annoying. But other than that, we also got into another layer. Well, we got through a few layers already. I think we're in gluttony at this point, and there's also the realization that some of the contestants know her sister. Again, a part of what's been fun is learning about Phantasma itself. I have to say that the games are fun. I don't know what people are talking about in the reviews. I think they're action-packed, and that you're kind of on the edge of your seat to see how they're gonna get out of those situations. There are blades coming out of the walls, and, you know, walls closing on you, and secret passages and things that, you know, at that moment is like, how is she, or how are they going to escape this? Around 300 and I think 16 page, there's this one scene that I'm like, I need to tell you about it, because I'm like, I'm dying to tell somebody about this scene. But like, Ophelia is with this entity. That's what I'm going to call them. So to make it a little bit more of a guesswork for you, there's this entity that along with her love interest, they do want to leave this place. So there's these two entities and they're fighting over her love. And well, or what it seems like they're fighting over her love. I don't know if that's a tactic, so she does whatever they want her to do in order to get out of there or not. But it got to a point where this other character, not her love interest, comes to her and, you know, he's trying to be charming and everything. It's like, tell me one of your fantasies, things that you wanted to do and you've never done it. And I was like, oh no. But no, she wanted to go to a ball, like dancing in a big dress and all these things. And listen, this is at the part where she's learning from this entity everything about this competition and how it ties down to everything that, you know, why she's there. And the guy's like, well, tell me one of your fantasies. And she's like, oh, I want to be in a ball and I want to dance and I want to dress and I want to, like, the hell are we trying to figure out how to get out of this place? The fact, and I know if you read the book, you'll know why she says that, but it's all part of the deception, and it's all like, once you start to read the book, you understand what is this about. But at the same time, this is her. Like, that's her fantasy. She's willing to put everything aside and live her fantasy instead of keep asking this guy questions about, hey, you know, how about my sister? How about this other person I'm looking for? How about, how do I get out of here alive? And it's like, man. And then close to where I stop, page 329, I am in this part where, like, she dances and she's in this fantasy with this guy, and then the love interest comes sweeping in and saving her, even though she called him and he never came. Eventually he comes and he's like, the hell? You're dancing? What? Anyway. And but it's like, and then they get out of there and they go to this other place, and there's this other being that apparently had some kind of relationship with, well, and relationship is too much, they had some kind of encounter with her love interest, and she's jealous. And now we're on to level 5. In the end, it's 9 layers, so I am not gonna update you anymore. Like, this is how much I have left. So, and I've been just having and adding notes to this book to kind of share with you, but I am not gonna update you until the end. Anyway, I'm gonna keep reading and I'll see you guys later. Hi everyone, I finished Phantasma and I have thoughts. Now, as far as my rating for this book, I have to give you both. My personal one, which is based on what I like in books and what I enjoy in books and what triggers my brain to be interested and start and finish a book. And I'm also going to do a review of the book itself, how it's written. Is it smart? Does it have plot holes? Was it entertaining? What I like, what I didn't like, and all those things that I think are really important. So there's one thing that is my personal opinion and liking on a book, and what the book actually is. Because if you're looking for a romantasy that involves a game, that involves secrets, some magic, a lot of prohibited romance, and also some talk on OCD, that I'll tell you what I think about it on the part that I share my opinion, then I think you're gonna enjoy this book because it's smart, it's well written. I don't see any plot holes that really would, you know, knock a few stars down. So if you want to know, is this a good book? Yes, I think it's a good book. But let me tell you a little bit about what I liked and didn't like about this book. I'm not going to give you an overview of what happened in the last 100 of pages. I'm only going to say that it took me hours and hours and hours, and I would say like almost an entire day of avoiding this book. And I'm saying avoiding the audiobook and avoiding the book itself. Even though I did want to know what happened in the end, I wanted to read something else. Like, I really was going back to my Goodreads every time I had time to read. I wanted to go and sit on my phone and look on my Goodreads, what's the next thing that I want to read. And there are quite a few new books that are coming out, and I'm really interested in them. So all I wanted to do was read something else, something that would help my brain. And having ADHD, there are certain things that trigger my curiosity in a book, and that's the only way that I can finish this book. So I finished a book. This one, I really had to push myself to read the last 100 of pages. The first almost 400 pages, I was okay, but I was reading it. It wasn't my most enjoyed book, but I could see how it was well written. The story was all coming together. There were not plot holes. The games or the challenges were really entertaining, but I had to oversee and I had to skip ahead on all the smut and all the graphic details about what he was doing, how he was doing it, and what she was doing, how she was doing it, what she was feeling, what she was touching, like all those things really I don't care for. So again, the book itself, as I said, is really good, but those are the parts that I just could not read the words, and I just had to skip ahead. The other thing that I don't think it works for me, or at least this romantasy didn't work for me, is because in my head, for what I like and what I read, I need a monster that scares me. Like, I need a monster that is really mean, is trying to murder me, is chasing me, is doing something to scare me. And in this case, in this book, even though there were all kinds of different supernatural beings, they were all more interested in sleeping with you than doing anything else. Yeah, I'm gonna torture you, but first let's have sex. I'm like, what? Excuse me? What are you saying? It was just like very it was a different story. Like, I don't enjoy reading about monsters that end up being a nice guy. Let's say Twilight, for example. Yeah, it was a romance between a human and a vampire. And even though I thought overall was good, I just found that it was very cringy. Like, you scare me. I enjoy the parts of the movie where they're the guys from Rome, the Volturi would come and they would fight and that kind of thing. That's what I enjoy in monsters, and I couldn't find a monster that I was afraid of in this book. Another thing that I thought it was very similar to Twilight was the fact that at certain point she needs to make a decision of what she's going to do with the rest of her life, which could be eternal or it could be mortal. And there's like a 15-minute conversation where he's completely like asking, are you sure this is what you want to be? You don't know what it being immortal is. You don't know what is this. And I'm like, I was hearing Edward in my head and I was thinking, why do I have to relive Edward's monologue that was like, but you don't know what it is, and you don't know this, and you don't know. And I'm not saying that she had to turn into anything. It was just at some point in this book she had a choice, and he spent 15 minutes trying to convince her that it's better to be mortal when we love each other and we want to be together for the rest of our lives. And him being a supernatural being and she being a human, Twilight all over again. Another thing that I didn't enjoy is that I am sorry, but this girl was just horny the entire time. She wanted to find a guy. Like I said what I said in my previous update. I mentioned that she had this encounter with this guy where he said, you know, tell me what's your fantasy. She's like, oh, I want to go dance in this ball with this gown and with this, when she's in the middle of learning of what really is the history of her family and the history of Phantasma, and then she decides to stop all that and go into this ball and dance with this guy, and then eventually there's more than dancing. And then so I'm like, and she's considering it because she likes her love interest, but at the same time she's like, well, but I'm horny. And I'm like, kind of takes away from the love story, if you ask me. Another thing that I thought it was kind of cringy, but at the same time, I don't know if it's a thing and I'm just not getting it, and maybe, you know, somebody else with more awareness reads this book and is like, oh my gosh, how amazing the portrayal of consent. Like every time this beings, because I don't want to tell you which ones were which, but these beings were going to do something to her, they were always asking for permission. They were like, okay, we will do this, but whenever you want me to stop, I'll stop. And I have to say that at least 30% of the book is this conversation of one of the supernatural beings saying that she can say no at any time and they will stop whatever it is that they're doing. I'm not saying specifically what it is, but whatever it is that they're doing, they won't do it without her consent. So, are you a monster? Are you evil? Are you nice? Like, I don't know. I really don't know. And finally, the portrayal of OCD. Now, I don't want to speak out of my butt, really, in this situation, because I'm not a psychologist or anything, but I thought that it was kind of confusing the way that she used OCD in this book. Like, there's a note in the end where she explains that everything, or most of the conversations that she will have with this voice in her head is based on her own experiences or somebody she knows. And so I find that it's really important to share your experiences, and that's why I don't want to speak out of my butt. But from somebody, from my perspective, who it really don't know what having full-on OCD looks like, when this started, I have to say that if it wasn't saying in the beginning, the first page of the book, it wasn't saying, you know, the portrayal of OCD, blah, 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 like a disclaimer, I wouldn't have known. I would have thought that the voice that she was hearing was the voice of a supernatural being, and that's for you to find out. A supernatural being that was living in her head, or it was living near her and was able to communicate with her. I feel like she did touch on OCD and she incorporated that into Ophelia's character, but I think it takes a lot of awareness of what that looks like in order to understand that this was not part of the supernatural world that they were living in. And I can see how some people can say maybe she doesn't have OCD, but she is possessed or something. Like, I feel like the way that it was portrayed and touched on without explaining, you know, that she was diagnosed with. And again, it doesn't even talk about OCD in the book itself. It kind of gives you that first note in the beginning, and it hopes that you can understand that that voice in her head is her OCD telling her to knock 3 times, to do this, to do that. And yes, I think most people will know that's how some people with OCD will behave or would behave, but I really didn't think that it was clear enough for people to, or for the message to touch people out there that were reading this book. So I think it was a good way for the author to throw all her feelings and her experiences into a character that ended up using this voice to do something, but in the end, I don't think that it touched really in what OCD is. And if it wasn't for the note at the beginning and at the end of this book, I don't know if the presentation that we get in this book is explained enough for somebody that doesn't know what it is to understand that that's what it is. And it could be misrepresented, or it could be misinterpreted, I should say, by the reader. So that is my other 2 cents on that. Again, I'm not saying that it's done wrong. I'm just saying that it could be confusing depending on your knowledge on OCD and the author itself. So my personal rating, it's gonna be 3-star. A 3-star is a good book in my opinion. It's just not for me, and that's why I have 2 different reviews, one for what the book is and another one for how I enjoyed it. So I don't think I can give it more than 3 stars. I did enjoy, I'm gonna say I enjoyed a good 70% of the book. Now if you ask me today, would you read another romantasy book, I'd say I would try it. Probably not as young as YA, but maybe in the future another adult romantasy. I don't think I'm gonna do it anytime soon. I've noticed that because I am not into it as much, I read less. Like I can read a book in a day. Like I can sit and read 300 pages, 340 pages in a day. I can do audiobook and I can sit down and read on my days off. And you know, for me, it's not a big deal. By the time I'm done with the book, I'm like at the epilogue and I'm like, oh wait, did it just end? You know, it's one of those things that for me, reading is an enjoyable experience. And when I am reading something that I don't really enjoy 100%, it takes away from my experience and it makes my hobby being boring. So I'm glad I gave it a go. I'm glad I was able to read it because I learned a lot, and I think I did it with the right book, because I do think that this is a really good book. And this one, it's gonna go to the library. I'm gonna donate it to the library because we don't have it. But I do think that if I donate this to the library and we have that audience that really enjoy romantasy and that is so well written, it's such a good story, such a good plot, that I'm sure somebody will enjoy it. Thank you for joining me today. I had a lot of fun reading outside. It's been really quiet. It's been really nice today. It's kind of overcast and it's been sprinkling a little bit, so we have to get ready for the rain tomorrow. But I am doing my research on my next book because I really need something fast-paced, something entertaining, a mystery that I can't put down, and I need to read a book a day, like a book in a day, in order to get that feeling of, yes, I do love reading. Kind of something I miss when I read something that I don't enjoy. But I'm proud of myself for doing this, for taking the weekend to read this book, and I hope that this helped you in some way to decide if this is something that you want to read. And again, if you do enjoy a lot of smut, and if you do enjoy a lot of I don't know, conversations, romance, and things that I call cringy, I'm not calling you cringy. You're welcome to love all that. I just don't enjoy it. And I feel happy that a lot of people will enjoy this once I donate this to a library tomorrow. But I'm okay. We just read different things and we should be all okay with that. So if you're new here, please remember to subscribe, like this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye guys.